whole nother level, but still keep it ghetto. Whole nother level, but still keep it ghetto. Whole nother level.
Welcome to episode 4 of The Process of Hip Hop. I'm Brian Joseph, writer, blogger at theprocessofhiphop.com. And as always, it's all about the process. In today's interview segment, I'll be talking to Alsy N'Diaye. Alsy is a filmmaker who has been honored at the Cannes Film Festival as the winner of the Nespresso Talents Vertical Film Competition, and she has recently directed the hip-hop documentary, The Bronx Berlin Connection. So let's get into it. Alsy N'Diaye, thank you so much for joining The Process of Hip Hop.
You're welcome. Thanks for inviting me.
Sure. Tell us about your background and how you got started in the filmmaking business.
Okay, so I am originally from France. I am now living in Montreal. I'm 24, and since I am 13 years old, I was really interested in editing and making films. So after school, I used to shoot some little videos with my friend, and I would edit them, some little short films that I would not show today, but it was fun. And at high school, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do in life, but I always knew that cinema always fascinated me. Like, I wanted to know how we make a movie. And I think that's why I took a cinema class in high school. And then after high school, I went to cinema school also in France. And after that, I went to Montreal and I studied 1 year in screenwriting. And since I'm done with that, I am just trying to get projects done, I would say.
So tell me about what was your very first project?
I could not say, because when I was in school, we used to make film school all together. Yeah,
right.
Student films, yeah. All together. So we did music videos, a little short films. And then after that, I started by being like photographer and video maker. So it's more about videos for people. But I would say the first one that I'm very proud of is a 3-minute short film I did for a contest last year for Nespresso. It's actually this year. And I went to Cannes Film Festival with this short film.
Oh wow! So tell me about that. I mean, what was the inspiration behind? It was a commercial. So what was the inspiration behind? How did you get that? How did that happen? How did that deal happen?
Well, I tend to do some contests online for video making, and this one in particular was launched by Nespresso, but it wasn't a commercial. They really have every year this vertical video film festival, and they really want like actual filmmakers to try to tell stories about a specific subject. So this year we had to talk about food in 3 minutes in a vertical video, and the selected videos could go to Cannes Film Festival, where they had like a ceremony and prizes. So I just did that on my own, and I thought no one would see it. And in this film, I talked about my culture and my different cultural heritage, as my parents are from Senegal, and they are also from Vietnam. So we have different cultures in our family. And so I always grew up with different food tastes, and different cuisines. So I wanted to show my heritage and my culture into that film that had to talk about food. So I took a lot of footage that I had filmed during the years in Senegal. I took a lot of footage also of my father's travel to Vietnam. And so I did a movie about that and about how food has a big impact on my life.
Interesting. So what would you say, what was like that point in time where there was a tipping point where you felt like, or maybe what you just described was it, but what was that point in time where you felt like I could really do this? Like I could really be a filmmaker. Was it the Cannes experienced, or was there something else where you felt like this is something that I can actually pursue legitimately?
Mm-hmm. I think probably this project, because when you start and when you start alone and you have nobody in your family that has been into this industry, I still have it, but you have some kind of lack of confidence because you have to feel this point when you're like, okay, I can do this. You know, some people don't think about it, but I always have this kind of doubts. So I think being selected for this competition was really something like, whoa, I did something for me. I did something on my own. I did something that I thought nobody would ever see. And actually, people do want to see it and are really emotionally touched by it. That I felt like, okay, maybe I should take it really seriously and maybe I have something to say, you know? So I think that was one of the first projects that motivated me as much because at the beginning I didn't expect anything out of it. I didn't even tell anybody that I was into this contest. And when I won and when I was taken to Cannes Film Festival, then I realized that maybe I should value more what I do, you know?
So what gave you the inspiration to your current project, which again, I'm excited for you.
Mhm.
What gave you the inspiration to do a documentary about hip hop, though?
Actually, I cannot take the whole credit for that. So when I was in France, I went to this hip hop exchange project between France and Germany. And when I did that, I was part of the young people going to Germany to discover and to have fun around hip hop. And I was just taking pictures and filming. And there I met Olad Aiden, who is the person that wanted to do a movie about his next exchange project. So, just to explain, Olad is a social worker in Berlin, and he is organizing since 11 years now an exchange project between German young people and American young people, which is called the Bronx Berlin Connection. And this connection, its purpose is to bring the young people that would maybe not have the opportunity to visit another country and to make them meet in another country and really exchange around hip hop. So he invited me because he liked what I did in photography and videography. So last year when he did the 10th year anniversary of this exchange, he asked me to come with him during 1 week in New York and to film the whole experience. So that's how it started because I knew that this kind of project was amazing and maybe I would have a lot to shoot. I really didn't know what to expect, but when I was in it, I really felt that it was really powerful, you know? And I was just supposed to help him film, and I ended up helping him editing also. And so we did the whole movie together. I would say that we did it together.
As part of this episode, I was also able to interview Olid Aiden. Olid talks about his experience in Berlin and what provided the inspiration for the film.
Like I arrived in Berlin and I started working with all these kids, and this was a while back. This was when Bush was still president. We had several wars going on, and the international, I mean, the U.S. wasn't looked upon in a very positive way at the time. You know what I mean? So when I first got there, I was thinking, oh man, this is going to be, because all of a sudden I was working with all these Arab, Turkish, Muslim kids, and I'm like, they're all going to hate me, right? Because it's like we have all this stuff going on. We got this terrible president, and then it turned out to be the complete opposite. The one thing that was still very much popular overseas was anything related to Black culture, hip hop, jazz, blues, basketball. You know what I mean? Those were things that still had a high standing internationally. And so when I started working with these kids, they go right into hip hop with me. You know what I mean? They'd be like, yo, my name is MC, this, that, and I feel everybody. And on that mainstream though, like the stuff they hear on the radio, gangster stuff, and I'm like, cool. And like when you listen to that in Europe, they don't really have ghettos in that sense. When you say, in the U.S., when you refer to inner city lifestyle, they don't have that kind of stuff because they have a social safety net, and kids generally have access to that. So it's a different situation. You don't have gun violence, so they kind of copy what they hear on the radio and what they see in the movies, and they usually reduce Black culture to that. It's like just violence, misogyny, that kind of thing. So I was like, okay. So we set up these creative writing workshops. We produced 4 albums. We said, yo, it's gonna come out on Amazon, on iTunes. We're gonna make music videos. Everybody can be on it, and we're not gonna censor anybody either. But whatever you talk about has to be grounded in reality. You can talk about your neighborhood. You know what I mean? You can talk about anything you want to talk about, but it has to be authentic. You can't make up stuff. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
That's how it started. And then we always got into New York as the birthplace of hip hop. I had a group of recently incarcerated young men and women, very chaotic group. And I said, okay, cool. We'll just get some money. And I got a grant, and I said, we'll just go to New York.
So tell me about when you were actually doing the filming. Did you script this? I mean, how did you and Alsy, how did you structure the actual filming and the content that you were going to be looking at?
But it was real organic. I mean, like I met Alsy in Paris during another hip hop exchange that we were doing, and she kind of blew me away. She's just an amazing human being and a really gifted young filmmaker. And so when I had the opportunity to bring a few of the French kids here to New York with me, I said, look, she has to be here, and you're just going to document. We had no plan. I just said, look, I can't film the whole time myself because I make movies also. But I was like, I need somebody to just film the whole thing because I'm too involved. And she was just documenting everything. And I would just do some filming in Berlin and on the side over here. And so when we were done with the exchange, we had a whole hard drive full of video material, and she was like, and I agreed. I said, look, we have enough for a movie here. And so I did a rough edit, sent it to her, and she really put all the life into it.
Now back to the interview with Alsy.
So you shot it literally over the course of several days, basically. Your
9
footage.
days.
Wow,
9 days. Mm-hmm.
Now, did you already have an interest, though, in hip-hop yourself prior to your connection with him?
Yeah, definitely. I always loved hip hop. I did some hip hop classes when I was younger, dance class, break dance, but never really, high level. But being into these exchanges and having the opportunity to film the dancers, the beatboxers, the rappers, there is really something about hip hop that I'm in love with, and I would not know how to describe it. I just know that when I make a movie about it, I'm really passionate, and it's just the culture that really touched me, and I think now I'm in it for a long time.
So and you went to the birthplace of hip hop, the Mecca. So which was the most appropriate place probably or one of the more appropriate places, I say, to film a documentary. So what I mean, and for just to give us a little bit of a preview, so that you were able to interview various people from break dancers to rappers to producers to DJs so did that strengthen your experience about or enhance your experience about hip hop, talking to all those different individuals?
Kind of, but I would say it's more about the relations and the connections that hip hop can create, and the fact that it crosses boundaries. It goes over. It's not a matter of race, of religion, of nationality, and it can be a strong connection. And so during these exchanges, besides being only about music and hip hop, it's really about meeting people, about talking about life experiences, about talking about history, activism. I mean, we met not only dancers, break dancers, DJs, rappers. We also met a lot of activists in New York. teachers also, and we had a real, I think that's what I wanted to put the most in the movie. But this kind of exchange is really like a social experience and has a strong political message also. So I think that hip hop um, is a great tool to spread message of unity, hope,
Sure.
and that's what I love the most about hip hop.
Which is interesting because from the beginning, if you kind of look at the first commercial hip hop song, "Rapper's Delight,"
Mm,
that opening line, he says to the white, the black, the red, the brown, purple, and yellow. So it always had that. It was always that,
mm,
and I think sometimes Americans tend to not or underestimate the value that hip hop has globally, especially
mhm,
now in the age of technology where it's so much easier to access
mhm,
and be part of it. Now, I mean, and kind of leads me into it. I mean, as far as growing up in different environments was even with people that don't even necessarily speak English, hip hop
mhm,
had that popularity. That it sounds like from your experiences, it had that popularity from the beginning. It was
mm.
never like it was always like that. Would that be accurate?
Very accurate. And I feel like we tend, in the media, we tend to show, because I feel like there is a really bad image of hip hop that is
Mm,
in the media sometimes.
sure.
People say it's violent, or it's just cursing, or it's just very trash or something. But it's something that is not true at all, because hip hop originally is a has a message, and has a real purpose, and as has also a history. So it was really important to me and Ola to show what is actually hip hop. It doesn't mean fame, it doesn't mean money, it doesn't mean, it just means expressing yourself and connecting people. And I think that's what's the most powerful about the movie and the experience we had. And we also have interviews about people who were actually members of the Black Panther Party. So
Yeah.
we met them in New York, and they were very able to tell us about the actual link that there is between the Black liberation movement and hip hop, because at the beginning it was really about sending a strong message,
Sure.
And so it's also a subject that we talk about in the movie, the origins of hip hop.
Now, let me ask you how so this week, this past week, where you were able to screen your film. Was that
Mhm.
a that was that a surreal? Tell us about that. I mean, I'll say, how did that feel having that screened in New York City?
Well, I was very honored at first when it was organized, because it was organized by the Goethe Institute, which is the German institute that is in every city, and it helps German culture to be alive in every city in the world. And so they support the exchange project since a long time right now, and they really wanted to screen the movie. So we were really excited about it with Olad. And personally, I was a little bit stressed because this is my first feature film. I've done another little documentary about hip hop during my first exchange, which is called European Hip Hop Exchange.
Hmm.
And so this one is longer, and I felt like having a big screening like that in New York was a big experience for me. I would not have thought about it a year ago if you would have told me. So it was very stressful, because when you show your work to some people that you don't know, and you don't know how they're going to react to it, it's
Sure.
a it's a strange experience. I never like to show my work, even though I know I have to. But it was a great exercise, and honestly, I felt so inspired by so many people that came to talk to me after the screening, and I felt very emotional during the screening, because some people were laughing,
Hmm.
reacting, nodding, and at the end there was a Q&A, so people had a lot of questions, and it brings to life what you're doing for several months in your editing room, and you don't know what people are gonna think. So it's a crazy experience, yeah.
So would you now that you've had this experience, would you consider yourself more of a documentarian, or would you like to do feature films as well?
I've always wanted to do feature films, and I really fell in love with this with documentary also, thanks to Olad and thanks to all the people I met during these exchanges. And I think there is something now that I'm for sure I want to do fiction now, but I think that documentary will never leave me now that I did it, you know. There's something much more powerful and much more important in doing a documentary than in doing a fiction film.
So
I think.
what were some of the, when you are in that editing room, or even when you're actually shooting, who are some directors or filmmakers that you looked up to, that you like their work or look up to?
Probably in an unconscious way, because honestly, during those 9 days, it was so fast, so intense. I don't know if it's correct in English. Sorry. So intense, so deep, so emotional that I didn't have the time to think about what influence I would take, you know. It was not the documentary that was made, you know, with a production company prepared months ago. No, it was really a passion project that Olad came to me with and asked me to be part of. So I think I just filmed as I lived the moment. I really felt connections with the young people that I met. I really felt connection with the people that we interviewed also. And I think that's what drove us with Olad. He's been doing this for a long time, so he knew approximately the subjects he wanted to talk about in the movie. And I just followed him, and that's what we did.
So how is it going to be released? Will it be like, what avenues will people be able to watch the film?
People are asking us about it a lot. Like, is it gonna be online? For now, we don't want to release it yet because we are trying to reach festivals, or we are trying to organize stuff so that the movie can be screened in organizations or maybe schools. We have someone that's interested in screening it to Fordham University next year. So I think it wouldn't be wise to release it right now, but we will definitely at some point release it online. So we're just trying to give a life to this movie first.
Sure, of course. What's next? Like, you have this now, and it's a great accomplishment. What are you looking for next? Like, what's your next project?
I have different projects. I'm doing some music videos, but I'm also writing short films. And I'll probably have the opportunity next year to have one short film shot and edited and everything. So I think it's gonna be more about fiction now. I'll try to exercise on that.
Right. Excellent. So what would be the best way for people to keep up with everything that you're doing?
They can follow me online on Instagram, if that's your question.
Yes.
My Instagram is Alsy, which is ALSY _ art, ART. So Alsy Art is my Instagram. That's where I post my pictures when I travel. That's when I post my projects, my teasers. And so there is often I post a link of my Vimeo account. So I would say Vimeo and Instagram.
Well, thank you. The film is The Bronx Berlin Connection. Alsy, thanks so much for joining us, and best of luck to you in the future.
Thank you so much. That was really a good experience for me. Thank you.
Hope you've enjoyed episode 4 of The Process of Hip Hop. Join us next week for our next episode. The Process of Hip Hop is produced and edited by me, Brian Joseph. Executive produced by Dale Harewood. Music by DJ Big Mike of Realside Records at realsiderecords.com.